Well, good day! So, yet again, I am going to dip into the DC animated universe from 1966 to 1970, and I want to focus a little bit more on that squirt of a speedster known as Kid Flash. And we'll see what kind of a splash he makes in this episode. But as is always done, I will go through this fancy list of things here on this fancy channel. And yeah. So, alright, let's go! Alright, so we got some jerk scientist named Professor Craig, and he has built these really gnarly robots so he can terrorize the people of the town, I guess. Or, I guess kind of inconvenience them, which is, still kind of a jerk thing to do. So police scientist Barry Allen, aka The Flash, he gets the news about this Professor Craig's robots, and he teams up with his sidekick Wally West, also known as Kid Flash. So Craig and the speedster duke it out for a wee bit, when suddenly Professor Craig sends a caboose hurtling towards a speeding locomotive. Like disaster, right? Well, wrong. Because the Fastastic Duo get on one of those, train trolley thingies, and they get the caboose out of the way, so hooray! So the Flash realizes that they need to stop this, wild and crazy robot. They figure only one person could make such a diabolical robot, and that would be Professor Craig. So, it kind of implies that the Flash, or Kid Flash, did not see Professor Craig in the giant window in the front of the robot, plain as day, but they just know that it's him based on reputation. Anywho. So the two confront Craig at his laboratory cabin out, in the woods, when bam, they fall into a trap and get sent into his basement chambers. So Flash and Kid Flash are up against a trap of multiple robots that they, easily escape from, so it's kind of not that good of a trap. But they do my favorite parlor trick, which is they shake at the speed of light so their molecules can pass through the solid wall and escape, which, yes, that is a thing from the comics. But you would have to think, man, shaking that fast, you would probably get really vomitously ill, or after that, right? That really would probably affect you some way, but I guess it doesn't. So now that they're free, they have to stop Professor Craig because he is going to the main science fair to enact revenge against his scientific peers who mocked him for his robotic creations. And he's gonna take his revenge by using a giant robot, eh? Talk about poetic justice. Poetic injustice?
Meanwhile, at the science fair,
Craig hops up on this tall tower and starts to make a small mess of the place, throwing decorations around and stuff. But the Flash just runs up there and pushes him off this tower, which, he would presumably fall to his death. It's actually kind of a tall tower. But after he crashes literally into the earth, he's totally fine, just a little sore. Which is good, I guess, because, man, really, that's attempted murder, right? You think Barry Allen, being a police scientist, would know better about that and about physics. So Professor Craig, grabs a bunch of more displays to attack the Flash and Kid Flash, but his plan backfires as he is tangled up in those same decorations that he tried to use against the Flash. And he is easily thwarted and easily captured. And I guess if he put all that hard work into all these robots and is just easily taken out, man, I guess his scientific peers were right to mock him. Huh, what a twist. So Professor Craig is now in jail, the science fair is saved, and well, I guess the reputation of robots is forever tarnished. But yeah, so with all of that stuff, that is the end of this fantastic tale. So these Flash episodes are actually pretty good, right? It's a quick little decent story, gets right through it, everything makes sense, and it's, pretty decent, really. And it's really cool to see Wally West, aka The Flash, in this episode. The only problem with it is that he really does nothing for the story, and if you did not include him whatsoever in this episode, everything would have worked out the same ways, and the story would have gone on just as smoothly without him. Professor Craig is kind of an interesting character. He is that classic superhero and science fiction villain trope, of being a mad scientist, hell-bent on revenge. And to use robots for his revenge is also another classic science fiction and superhero trope. This is stuff you did see in the 1940s with the Max Fleischer Superman cartoons, right? So it is kind of cool to see that throwback still kicking around, but even by the 60s, that was kind of an outdated idea in a way, right? And he actually is kind of an interesting character in this episode. Like, as we've learned, his scientific peers would mock him for all his robot creations, and it does show that his kind of creations really weren't that good enough. You know, obviously dangerous and all that stuff, but he seems to be just on the cusp of, like, being a true super villain who builds robots. But not quite there yet, eh? So if this series went on longer, it would have been cool to see him come back, you know, as a more accomplished super villain mad scientist and actually build some robots that can really destroy a place, you know? But still, it was a pretty awesome episode, and like the Flash is still a pretty kick-ass character, so it was really cool to see him kind of win the day again. And it was kind of cool to see Kid Flash, you know, kind of hang out and run laps with him, I guess. So if you're a fan of Kid Flash and you haven't seen these, I would say definitely check it out, and definitely check out the Teen Titans episodes, because, you know, like I said, definitely more important character in that show than this one. But indeed, you know, with all those things that I talked about, there is a lot more things to talk about Kid Flash-wise, you know, with his comics, his history, and all that kind of stuff, so let's go check that stuff out here now. Yeah, so Sidekicks, eh? So with Robin being like a fan favorite with the kids, DC Comics rode that wave and gave basically every single superhero a similar powered young sidekick, and that's exactly what they did with the Flash. So let's talk about this young speedster, eh? So Kid Flash debuted in The Flash number 110 in 1959, and of course his secret identity would be Wallace Rudolph West, more commonly known as Wally West, and if dude's middle name is Rudolph, man, he's pretty cool in my books. So originally, Kid Flash dressed exactly like the Flash, like same costume, you know, completely. But, you know, if it is a different character, it is kind of nice for them to have their own look and kind of grow in their own ways. So Kid Flash did eventually get an updated, different costume to really kind of separate himself from the Flash in a way. So yeah, pretty similar to the original, you know, but also pretty snazzy. But if we compare that costume of Kid Flash to the Kid Flash that appeared in this animated universe, like, yeah, sure, you know, like, the basic concept of the costume is the same, but, like, the color placements are completely reversed. So if we're talking about Flash's villain, Reverse Flash, who has a reversed color palette on his uniform, then technically, the Kid Flash in this cartoon is Reverse Kid Flash and is a villain? Well, no, obviously not, right? But, like, one thing that bugs me about this cartoon is Wally West's hair. Like, in the comic, man, Wally West is known for his wavy red hair. And in this episode, he has, like, black, kind of curly hair. Like, it kind of really makes no sense, right? Like, would it really cost that much to buy some orange animation paint and, like, make it a bit more accurate? But, you know, in the comics, when Wally West put on the Kid Flash costume, that costume would change his hair color from a red to a bit more of a brown as kind of a disguise. So you can kind of argue, like, with that frame of mind, that's what the animators were kind of going for with the different hair color, but still, like, a bit too different, right? So in the comics, Wally West got his powers and tapped into the Speed Force, you know, by getting hit by lightning and was doused in chemicals, which was pretty much the same way that Barry Allen got his powers of the Flash, like, originally, right? Which is also kind of funny because I guess chemical lightning does in fact strike twice. So in the comics, right, like, eventually Wally West did replace Barry Allen as the Flash, which was pretty huge. When I started reading Flash comics, it was Wally West and not Barry Allen, so I'm kind of more familiar with that character, you know, personally. So Barry Allen sacrificed himself to save the multiverse in Crisis on Infinite Earths number 8 in 1985, which was like a huge DC Universe crossover story and was, you know, pretty legendary. So Wally West learns of Barry Allen's death in Crisis on Infinite Earths number 12 in 1986, and that's when he decided, like, there's no more Flash, I'm Kid Flash, you know, the dude was my mentor, so he decided to step into the role of the Flash and, like, fulfill, you know, Barry's, you know, life's work, which was also his work at the same time. So, you know, another growth for the Wally West character. And Wally West was the third character to carry the name of the Flash. But just like he wasn't the only character called Flash, he was also not the only character who carried the name Kid Flash. In comic history, there were other characters who were named Kid Flash and, you know, carried that mantle very well. The main ones would be, of course, there was Iris West, there was Bart Allen, and there was Wallace West, who is Wally West's cousin. So Kid Flash did appear in a number of shows after this Filmation animated universe, most notably in Young Justice as more of a main character, and then he made a number of appearances in other kind of cartoon shows and cartoon movies. Kid Flash did finally make his live-action debut appearance as the Wally West version of the character. That was in the CW's The Flash, starting in Season 3. And later, Kid Flash jumped shows and joined up with the Legends of Tomorrow. And surprisingly, this is Kid Flash's only live-action appearance. Maybe if the 90s Flash show went on longer than it did, maybe we would have seen a Kid Flash then. But that's all a moot point. So that is the quick meat and potatoes of the Kid Flash character in his limited TV glory, and I'm sure we'll see the character more, after this in either cartoon or live action form, but probably not a whole lot, seeing as he wasn't featured a whole lot, but maybe we will. But who knows? And yeah, so with this, that, those, and the other things, I guess that's that. Right on, and there you go. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you liked it as much as I did making it. Also, feel free to check out the source material that I featured in this video. And if you want to leave a comment on anything you may have liked or things I might have missed in this, feel free to do so. Or anything else, just to say hi. That's cool too. And other than that, have a great day. Thanks.